All right, folks. It is August 6, 2023. As you all are familiar with Christina Copeland to my left, myself. Peter Adkins, also known as MC Intimidator, as the courts are now identifying me as my profession, as well as counsel that Mrs. Copeland heard Judge W.B. Smith call me in our last domestic violence injunction hearing, which was a total embarrassment to the judicial process as well as due process itself, the judicial rules of administration, the civil rules of procedure, and the federal rules of procedure, which oversee how the civil courts operate. That being said, before I go into our update with what all's happened from the videos that you've seen now to 3 videos that I removed after the Polk County Sheriff illegally confiscated my cell phone, which my daughter witnessed being put in the pocket of a deputy with no search warrant. And they're claiming that they're holding on to it because of them not knowing where the videos that I'm uploading are coming from. That doesn't matter. It's public record. It's not any reason for y'all to be holding on to my cell phone, which should have gone to my property, which I'm now on GPS monitoring. Another guy, as Christina knows, was being released on charges for attempted second-degree murder. He didn't leave on a GPS monitor, but I did for these child custody charges, which the domestic violence injunction
allegations.
Exactly. Charges, as I said, and allegations, which she's not wrong because they totally are. But I want to publicly apologize for some of the misinformation, because not all of it was misinformation, because I did my research on the vaccinations and how my family felt about them during that entire process. Everybody's heads were scrambled. Everybody was on mandatory lockdowns, which we know in part 4 of our video, those lockdowns were used against my family in the court of law, even though President Trump at the time himself had deemed travel amongst family and friends non-essential. But the courts were trying to say that I was dictating how him and Governor DeSantis were writing their orders during that procedure, even though it was a federal order that travel to family and friends was non-essential. But I put out some misinformation. I am so terribly sorry. I mean, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, because I'm a person of fact. I am a crime scene investigator with an associate science in criminal investigations. I graduated with honors, so I use my deductive and inductive reasoning to look at both sides of things, the good and the bad. And looking back now, the misinformation that I gave in saying that I supported the vaccinations when my family stopped after the second one, and we did the Pfizer vaccines, which at that time, all of the medical research that was being provided, Pfizer by far had hundreds of thousands less in their reports of side effects with complications from the vaccine. It doesn't change the fact that they are now doing damage to millions, if not billions, of individuals around the world for nothing more than control. And the New World Order, as some call it, and the Illuminati and others believe, not just through conspiracy theory, through truths of conspiracy that are now being proven across the board, like these vaccinations doing damage, causing things like myocarditis, I believe is how it's pronounced, and
cancer.
And blood clots that look like white cells and roots where they've just mutated into our veins and caused blockage amongst so many families. I mean, we've seen, all of us, you all included in the public, celebrities, many public figures, not just celebrities, athletes that are dropping and continuing to drop like fries. Fries. Well, yeah, fries get dropped too in grease vats, and that's what they're doing to us. They're frying us up, serving us up to nothing more than the elite and their personal gains. But
We've
Go ahead.
now done our research on what vitamins to take to try to help prevent the cancers and that the vaccines is causing.
And we will get into that with the next video, where we'll talk about the regimens and supplements that we've been taking, because we're going on, 26 months since we took the first 2. We didn't take any boosters, because once you read up on all the damages and everything that were done, it deterred many people from taking any more. But if we're to die, then it'll happen, because we did take the first 2. But a lot of the boosters are what are causing the problems. But anybody else that's out there still taking the vaccination, stop. Don't trust our government. They're proving beyond a shadow of a doubt right now how untrustworthy some of our United States government is, because not all of them are untrustworthy. It's just the corrupted, as my family is experiencing
the ones
here.
we have encountered,
And
especially.
yeah, especially the ones that we have encountered here in Imperial Polk County, Florida.
Where money and power is more important than a child's safety and well-being, and they're willing to take children from good parents and put them in the care of the ones who abuse them.
As that's going on through multiple counties across America. As I've mentioned names in my previous videos, if y'all haven't seen them all, then I can't help it if you're going to form an observation. What was that guy's name from 5x5 Media? Let's give a special shout out to, is it Mike?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike, go fuck yourself. Prejudicial effect cannot substantially outweigh the probative value. And you tried to call us asshats in a very verbiage style. You should have just used the words asshat, because you yourself tried to say that you formed an observation off our videos, but openly admitted you hadn't watched all of them. What kind of investigative journalist is able to form an observation when he hasn't reviewed the entire amount of documented evidence? That makes it nothing more than opinion and makes you worthless in helping our children and your profession as an investigative journalist. So
everybody wants to
suck
say
it.
that our verbiage and our attitudes is what's causing the problem and how we need to approach things differently. Well, I got news for everybody who wants to go against us and everything. You have not walked 1 second in our shoes for the last 13 years and know everything step by step that our children have been put through, what this county has put this family through. And until you do, your opinion does not matter.
And you yourself are guilty of letting prejudicial effect outweigh the probative value. And the prejudicial effect being your opinion, whereas the probative value is our videos that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that all of the parties involved, the petitioner and all of the entities, the Polk County Sheriff's, Grady Judd himself, putting his signature on one of our illegal evictions when there were 17 or 19, it was in the teens, and it was over 17 or at 17, of open code violations on our home, 2 of which made the home unlivable from the time that we moved in. And Grady Judd, when you put your signature on that paper and said that you hand-delivered the paperwork from Square Venture Group LLC to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, you made yourself guilty of a crime. That's not our problem. And you yourself are letting prejudicial effect outweigh the probative value.
You should have came out and talked to us and seen the conditions we were living in before you made your judgment.
Yep, and the probative value is the crimes committed against our family, where a lot of the anger that is projected outwards in our videos comes well after the fact my children have received permanent injury and have been abandoned, abused, and neglected. And I'm not going to go through the laundry list of problems that is provided in the contemporaneous evidence that's protected under Florida statutes 934.03.
That's being broken across the board.
Wiretapping laws. And yes, they're being broken across the board by Imperial Polk County. And you cannot let prejudicial effect outweigh the probative value. Just because my videos destroy the state's case, the petitioner's case, does not make it highly prejudicial. Y'all's opinion that our attitudes is highly prejudicial, and that effect can never outweigh the value of the probatives, being the crimes committed against our family. So moving into the update after the apology, and again, I'm sincerely sorry. I'm sure Mrs. Copeland is sincerely sorry for even taking part in the vaccinations herself, because
I thought I was doing what was best for my family, considered I worked for Dollar General
and company
face to face with public on a daily.
Oh, the AC went off. I hope that didn't cover anything up. But and yes, what we were facing on a daily basis, and multiple families, I'm sure, can agree that they felt that their jobs may have been threatened. And if she loses her job, with me being on Social Security disability income, which that's another prejudicial effect with everybody involved in this trying to attack my disability, when that was decided by a federal judge who stated clearly that my disabilities are exactly what they are and listed on the paperwork by doctors that have already verified such. That's double jeopardy. But
I've been through his disabilities with him, been through him being paralyzed and basically being
from where?
The waist down, and basically being his nurse and everything. And as much as I can't stand Lakeland Regional Hospital, and I don't really care for after the fact of Dr. Torres Gluck, if it wasn't for Dr. Torres Gluck, he wouldn't be even halfway walking that he is today.
Which we were highly appreciative of Dr. Gluck, if you ever watch this. But when you turned cold-hearted and tried to say you weren't going back on your opinion that I was getting better, you yourself in the beginning of this said it doesn't get better. But when I started using my teeter and I was able to walk again, I still can't run. I still can't perform half the normal functions on two legs that most humans can.
But thank God he's not in a wheelchair
Yes.
running around with his kids in the yard. So we appreciate that.
Just that. What we don't appreciate is you siding with whoever you sided with and saying that I'm getting better. Because the only thing that got better was my ability to walk. I still have the loss of feeling and all of the nerve damage, sir, which is permanent. Doesn't get better with degenerative.
Ankle instability, the whole 9 yards.
It doesn't get better with degenerative disc disease. Oh, and my drop foot that you said had gotten better and gone away. That foot still doesn't function the way it's supposed to. But moving on to what we really need to get into. Starting with Christopher Tweet, also known as Christopher Twat, from the Middle District of Florida, United States Supreme Court. You violated Rule 8. And Rule 8, I don't remember which subsections it are, and I'm not going to get into it, but anybody can do a quick Google search on Rule 8, and it will pop up from Cornell University or Cornell Law, multiple places, including the United States federal government, where it shows what Rule 8 represents. And you said that I have a certain format that I'm supposed to be following, and it does state that in the rule, but it also states further in the rule where you were cherry picking, which is also known as Bernoulli's maxim, is exactly what you did in that case because you didn't read the entire rule. The rest of the rule states that as long as two of the claims follow the format that you were saying I didn't, which individual committed what crime, what relief we seek, where I had exactly two in that document in my initial proceedings to start the federal case that state those two follow the letter of the law. And if those two are done the way that they're supposed to be done, then any one of them are acceptable in that same exact rule. And I should read the exact rule verbatim, but I don't need to. You all can read Rule 8 yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about because I'm using it in my words without reading it directly. But the rule does say exactly what Justice Christopher Tweet said, that it has a certain format that it has to follow. But he didn't read the whole rule where he cherry-picked in his final decision. And it does state clearly in the rule that as long as two of them follow the format that you're looking for, then any one of them are acceptable. And the case should have gone on because things that you were also defending, saying that qualified immunity exists amongst sheriff's officers and judges, etc. No, qualified immunity is a defense to stand trial. And another federal rule is when you have evidence that takes precedence over opinion, you're required a jury trial by right to have the evidence observed by our peers and the public, but you didn't allow it.
Which is funny because none of our court cases, it's amazing how evidence disappears and all your ex-wife has to do is open her mouth and all of a sudden everything is granted.
Let's get into that. What the petitioner has stated. And this is being addressed to the public so that anybody can't sit here and say that I'm addressing the petitioner as...
And if you want to know anything about wiretapping, please message us in any way. We'll tell you exactly what it sounds like when somebody's wiretapping your phone or following you around town trying to be inconspicuous.
And getting busted in the process. But here is the new supplemental petition to modify parental responsibility after the domestic violence injunction, which was granted. And W.B. Smith, the judge that was on there, which I'm going to get back into, overruled every single legitimate objection that we offered. Wouldn't allow Mrs. Copeland to even offer her testimony, but presented how I was trying to defend these text messages, which are clearly prejudicial effect because they're after the crimes that are committed against my innocent children who were not allowed to testify in court per... what's the statute? Rule 8.255 subsections B, H, F, and B3 on the Florida rules of judicial procedure involving minors that are trying to testify in court. They have the right to be at any and all hearings. But we'll get back to that. Let's read the statement from this new modification that is being requested, because my injunction has been granted indefinitely until the courts remove it further. I can't see my children anymore. And you all have seen, or if you took the time to watch these videos, the abuse against my minor children, especially when the Polk County Sheriff interrogated my minor children for over an hour, and both of them told the exact same reality of the horror that they had been living in part 4, cognizable definition of our YouTube advocacy series, which is 8 hours long. You cannot tamper with evidence, because all of you people out there are saying that it has to be shorter. You cannot tamper with evidence, or else it becomes inadmissible in the court of law. So that video is just the raw footage from beginning to end.
Before you read that, because it goes into what I'm about ready to say that's gonna follow. We bought an RV for our family. We are tired of renting anywhere you go. If any of you all know, rent is going up. It's very hard. Families are struggling, and especially here in Polk County, more families are living out of their cars and on the streets and in tents somewhere because of the inflation of rent.
And Polk County, just to add to that, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Polk County being one of the largest, they were the largest homeless populated county in the United States not too long ago, and may still be now. I'll have to fact check that.
So we decide with tax money, we are going to go out and buy an RV for our family.
A Class A motorhome.
Now, our son, and I'm saying our son because after 13 years, these are my kids too. I've helped raise them, provide for them, nurture them. They're my children too. We buy this motorhome. He's been with us, would have been 3 years on October 2nd. Told his mother, told police.
As you saw in the previous videos.
Everything. That he does not want to be there. He has verbally said himself he does not want to be there. So what do? As soon as we get the RV, all of a sudden now all a restraining order is being shoved in our faces and everything else. But what's funny about all that is you have gaslighted your son for almost 3 years. You have not provided him with anything, support of any kind. You have not called your son on the damn phone to see how he's doing, to tell him that you love him. That's not what a mother does. So you've gaslighted him for almost 3 years. All of a sudden, we get an RV, and this bitch is up our asses because you haven't taken enough money. Not only are you destroying these two, but we also have 2 other children that you're taking food out of their mouths, stuff from their education, and everything that we need to be spending on all 4 of the children equally.
Were you coerced or coached into saying that?
Fuck no.
Did I tell you to communicate
No.
that to anybody? This is her addressing the public.
Heart. This is my heart over my kids.
How long after we bought that RV were we served with the domestic violence injunction? Illegal domestic violence injunction, where you all saw in the video that the Lakeland Police Department walked in there without a search warrant. Violation number 1.
We brought the motor home on a Wednesday. In less than 24 hours, it was 3 p.m. on Thursday afternoon that I get the phone call from my 17-year-old daughter telling me that the cops are all there. And according to the paperwork, it was like 4:44 p.m. on the same day we brought the RV home.
That it was served.
Yep.
And Mrs. Bernard,
wasn't even 24 hours.
Mrs. Bernard, the petitioner, was sitting out in the parking lot, less than 20 feet from our motorhome, which is a very poor practice by the Lakeland Police Department.
You're so scared of him that you're going to be 20 feet away from our home. And then we have attorneys
which is entrapment,
telling us that she can do whatever the hell she wants to, which is entrapping us, because if she comes up within 100 feet of our home and Pete just says, hey, you're not supposed to be here. She can call the cops and him be arrested all over again. Fuck that shit.
As we were told by some attorneys here in Polk County, and I'm not even going to mention the one idiot's attorney name because I spoke to him in an interview before. He was completely worthless then, and his name is a worthless mention now with what I went through in the phone interview through him with a recommendation.
Don't be surprised if any of y'all start going through this stuff and then you go to try to get an attorney. They've already gotten to them. They've already said your name, everything. So nobody around here has the cojones to go up against these bastards. And on top of all this, we have the court hearing.
Look at the camera. I know.
I'm
it's
getting
stressful.
flustered over this because
I know. Address the camera as if it's the people that you're talking to, because we are advocates. We have thousands of views. We are using, per Florida Statute 934.03, we're using a system that the public has access to make people aware of crimes, of treason against America, because that's what's taking place here too. These are crimes against America. When the statutes that not just the Constitution, but the state and the government have put in place, and the local government here is violating it, that's a crime against America, because you're breaking the laws of the American Constitution as well as the state constitutions and laws that were set by our government.
Well, they do the temporary injunction. We should have had the law on our side. I think a lot of these people, including Grady Judd and all the rest of them, are just pissed off that he knows their job better than they do.
At least from the research perspective.
Not because he went to school for it, but because all of them pushed him into doing this. He has cited case numbers or case laws, other things that have happened in this county since the 80s. So we are not the first family to be going through this, and we need other families to stand with us and say, this is enough. Nobody's going to hurt our children anymore. But they decided that day they were going to take our son from us. Yep. They told us a certain time they were going to be there. We get back to the RV, and I told Pete, you watch, they're going to show up an hour early. Was I wrong?
Nope, they did. They showed up an hour early.
Then they showed a piece of paper that didn't have any time on it at all.
And then wanted to argue with me and say that we can pick the children up whenever we want to. No, there has to be a specific time on the paper. And the paper didn't even honestly say a time of when y'all could pick up the children. And one of the deputies, which is in the videos that y'all have seen, is shocked when I tell her that the only piece of paperwork that I have is the one that was initially given to me for the fact that the domestic violence injunction was taking place. Because the day of the hearing, the first hearing, when I pointed out the technicality that her attorney made a mistake on, huge mistake, and I'm going to mention her name in the next video so that we can destroy not only her credibility but her reputability as a lawyer, because she too is now part of the corruption.
And
but
it's state. Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, a very valid point. She saw the paperwork where it says the petitioner must stay away from the minor children. Not in those exact words, because it gives an example of the party who is having the children taken away from them. And she was not the one having the children taken away from her. And that line 13 states clearly that she has to stay away from the minor children. When I point that technicality out to the judge and ask the judge if he signed this paper, and did the deputy clerk sign the paper, and did the, who does the stamping of it? The
notary.
Yeah, the notary, if this is her signature, and they say, yes, what are you getting at, Mr. Adkins? Well, the petitioner is not supposed to be around my minor children, and I would like my minor children with me now. So the other attorney loses her mind and gets the judge to allow her to make the change right there in the courtroom, and I was never served the new paperwork, making the injunction, again, illegal from the beginning. Not just the arrest being illegal, but the injunction being illegal because of the technicalities that not one, not two, not three, but 4 county officials signed off on and said that the paperwork was official. And I have 2 of those documents now in my manila folder, and both of them still have that line 13 that say the petitioner is not supposed to be anywhere near the minor children.
Yep. So they come and they take Ario. Ario decides he's going to run away because he doesn't want to be at his mother's house. Now, I'm sorry, there is no judge on the face of this planet, no Grady Judd on the face of this planet. Nobody can tell me if there is an injunction placed against them, especially
In
on
Polk
Polk
County.
County streets. Their son or daughter doesn't call them at wee hours of the morning, and they're not going to get up and go get their kid.
Yep. When the no contact order was illegal to begin with, not just from the technicality in the courtroom, but the whole process itself, because the courts had made up their mind. They were going to make sure that I didn't get to say anything, because I got cut off at every pass. Every objection got overruled, and they were viable objections, such as, I don't think I used prejudicial effect outweighing the probative value, but I know that I used entrapment. I know that I used, it doesn't matter. There were multiple objections. And whenever the federal courts finally step in, we're praying a federal attorney will look at all this and say, no, enough's enough. And they'll step in and see how not only wrong have the Polk County courts been, but they've been breaking the law from square one 13 years ago up until now. And it's just gotten worse since my advocacy videos recently exposed multiple indignities by multiple agencies in this county. But we do need to speed and kind of wrap through the rest of
but
this.
I'm trying to get to where this comes
I'm
from.
sorry, go ahead.
So they come and get Ario. Ario calls his dad at wee hours of the morning to say, Dad, come and get me. He literally left Mom's house, went to the nearest gas station, and called Dad. He could have called anybody under the sun. But if his dad was truly abusing him, why did he call his dad? But Pete brings him back to the RV because it's wee hours of the morning. And he does call the police to let them know that they're there.
Before, both times. I called the Polk County Sheriff Office before and said, he's here. And I'm calling y'all to let y'all know that he's here so that y'all can take him back to where it is you have him ordered to go to.
So then our son runs away a second time because he doesn't want to be at his mother's. Calls his dad again. Brings him back to the RV. Still calls the officers to let him know that he's there. They come and pick up Ario. And then it wasn't even 2 hours later, they came and arrested him.
Which, let me ask you, we had the video because you saw me with the camera standing in the RV door facing Deputy Dickface, one of Grady Judd's right-hand man, that bald-headed piece of scum who I still challenge to a charity boxing match. I would love to box you for charity after what you came and did here in front of my family, you fucking pussy. Did he or did he not rip me out of that RV when I was standing right there in the door trying to get them to explain to me what had happened? Mm-hmm. And not only were you present,
I was present, and my 17-year-old daughter was present, and Piper was present, which they keep trying to tell us that none of this stuff should be happening in front of our 8-year-old. Bitch, we didn't bring this to your fucking front porch.
Which we're going to get to exactly. You're bringing this upon us, which is entrapment. You all can't force an individual into committing a crime per the Florida statute on entrapment, which I don't remember. I think it's 700, there it is, 777.201 subsection or subparagraph 1. But go ahead.
So they end up stealing his phone. They rip his shirt off of him.
My daughter witnessed that cell phone being pocketed by the sheriff. Y'all didn't have no search warrant.
Mm-hmm. So we do all this. He goes to jail. I had to go through the ringer with several bail bondsmen around here till I finally found one and made post his bail. Still over 24 hours later, they finally release him. So on top of...
It was almost 48 by the time I got out.
Yeah. So on top of all this, we still had on August 2nd, this new hearing for the injunction. A friend got in contact with us and they enhanced all 3 of his charges without his knowledge.
I think it was 2.
No, it was 3.
What's the third one?
They moved from the interfering with custody to interfering with custody with
an incompetent minor,
which Ario is not incompetent. I can't take college trig in 10th grade, can y'all?
Yeah, they're stating that my son is an incompetent minor.
They just don't want him to talk,
Testify
'cause the
in
shit's
court.
gonna come
Exactly.
out.
There's no medical records to support
They
that
still
theory.
have on there the resisting arrest without violence.
But that wasn't enhanced.
They moved all of them from misdemeanors to
Okay,
felonies.
I know where she's going with that. There's a Florida statute that shows, I thank you for bringing that up. There's a Florida statute that shows at 120 months, charges can't be enhanced like they're enhancing these. But since I got off probation almost 120 months ago, now they're using that Florida statute to enhance these charges to where I'm now facing potentially 25 to life for being nothing more than a good father to my children and a public advocate who is exposing the real criminals. Grady, Judd and Company here in Imperial Polk County. And we know about your affiliation with the Outlaws. We're just trying to get confirmation now, like your charity rides that you used to do back in the day with them. But we know more than you think we know, buddy.
So that, and then the contempt of the injunction. They all went from misdemeanors
to felonies,
to third-degree felonies,
and up,
without your knowledge,
and my peers being present.
And that court date isn't even until August 8th.
Right, and that's an arraignment. Tuesday. That's an arraignment, and they enhance these charges without my peers being present,
I don't understand
or without my knowledge. It's Imperial Polk County. They twist and break the laws all along the way.
Now, we had sent our son over there with the phone. He had been able to call us till up to a week before August 2nd hit. Now we have not been able to speak to our son at all. She has cut off all communications. But see, I've learned over the years that this is what narcissists do.
They violate due process.
I was married to one. That's why I'm divorced from one. So, she's the one interfering with custody. We haven't seen Elizabeth for almost 3 years. When did she cut off communication totally? Almost a year ago?
Here we go. I'm going to now read the synopsis by the petitioner from the domestic violence, the supplemental petition to modify parental responsibility, where they're TPR. They're trying to terminate my parental rights.
And for what? She's lost one and gave up on another. What makes these two so much more important than them?
Another valid point. The petitioner was proven unfit in the court of law once already, and it may even been Polk County that did it, where she lost custodial rights of her second-born child, her son, who I helped raise the first 2 or 3 years of his life. But let's get into this, because this is public record anyway. They like to bash me about how I go out here and talk bad about them. No, well, in order for it to be slander, it would have to be a lie. And I've presented hours of documented evidence that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt they're guilty of capital crimes. But September 2020, our daughter, this is the petitioner, Elizabeth Atkins, her name's public record. She's my daughter.
On Facebook, she's changed her last name
to Bernard. Came to my oldest daughter and me to inform us of the conditions of her father, me, Peter Atkins, house, and begged to not go back over there. Our son, Ario Atkins, said it was true, but he still loved both parents and wanted to go back and forth. He went with his father that Friday and has not returned to my house. I tried filing for a protection order for our children. The judge said it needed to go back to family court. My attorney at the time filed in family court, but we never made it into court. I do not know the reason for this. Since this time, Peter Atkins has become mentally unstable. Yet the petitioner is the only one who's ever attempted suicide and been Baker acted. He has posted videos on YouTube attacking me as a parent and person. In order for it to be attack, there has to be no merit to the validity of the crimes committed against
add to that.
My children.
What about attacking me? What about attacking my girls? What about attacking my family? I have nothing to do with you. Are you jealous that I've been a better parent to your mother or to your children than you will ever be?
Again, did I coach or coerce you to say this? This is you. You're volunteering. Okay. As she said, attacking me as a parent person here in the synopsis, given my full name, showing our children, my house, which her name is public record anyway, with the case numbers that are out there on the videos, because we have to get this into a court that's not corrupt. Showing our children, my house, my address. The only videos that show her house, it's all completely blocked out in the videos. This is part 4 that they're referring to. Y'all can watch that video from beginning to end, because I spent 3 months editing that video because it was 9 hours, making sure meticulously that all addresses and children,
And that's all
spaces
that was
that needed to
edited.
be protected and removed were edited out, because I'm not going to put, even like when I was at the school, I'm not going to put pictures of children's faces without the parents' permission. I'm not that type of person. Even with my own children, there were parts of the videos where their faces were shown, but they're my children and they agreed to these videos being recorded and taking place. And I don't need their permission as it is when I am protecting them from the crimes being committed against them,
And
as well
whether-
as my family.
And whether they did or not, I have 2 children in the other room. They're ready to speak out against all this corruption. And one's 8 going on 9 and one's 17 going on 18.
Okay, and then it goes further in the synopsis to finish with her family being on the videos. He would come to my house and stand outside videoing and yelling. My daughter would hide from fear. I don't see where she was hiding from fear at all. The only time where she comes outside in one of the videos, she does state clearly that she hates me and that she doesn't want to live with me anymore. But if you all watch the videos, because it's in reverse chronology, you'll watch my daughter go from hating us to being the loving little girl that you could tell was being coached into what she was said, which we'll get into as I finish reading this synopsis. Let me get through reading the synopsis. Our daughter would hide from fear. He would I was granted a trespassing order in 2021 for our old house. Well, if she was granted a trespassing order, it was entirely illegal, because you can't trespass somebody on public property. We were never on her property. And if you watch in part 4, cognizable definition, where I tell the officer, you can't trespass me from the property. I have to be on it, first of all. And you hear the officer openly admit in the video that he can't trespass me. So I drove off without any documentation. So any trespass that exists, again, due process was not followed, and it's false. When we moved last year, I did not inform him, me being the respondent, of the new address, as we were fearful and did not know where he was since being evicted in October of 21. It's amazing she knows about all these evictions yet. I've never brought them up to her. Exactly.
That's
All
exactly
3
how
of
I
the
feel.
illegal evictions. Again, addressing the public. Since March of this year, he has sent me over 400 messages, including audio files, stating he will see me burn, die slow. He is coming for me. And I asked about that one in the courts, but nobody ever saw that one. And again, there's no direct threats of violence against her. Die slowly. If she were to die tomorrow, I'm sure that my entire family would jump for joy, because of the permanent injuries and lasting abuse mentally that we've all been through at the hands of Polk County corruption, that she is not the only one behind, the petitioner. I mean, there's multiple entities now that are behind this. Peter has left these audio messages in the presence of our son, Ario. Peter has told my son, Ario, and stated in videos that my family has Walmart money. They sold a property to Walmart in the 2000 eras where they made a few $1 million. It's the Walmart off of Lithia, Pinecrest, and Bloomingdale, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the truth. And that they pay off judges and law enforcement. I don't recall saying that in any one of the videos, but regardless, we know that they're accepting some kind of bribery, or else none of this would be transpiring. I wouldn't have been called counsel in the court and then the judge correct himself, or to overrule every single viable objection and every single objection in the courtroom, including my children, which were allowed to be president. They are allowed to be president, but present is what I was going for in these hearings. Per Florida Rule of Juvenile Procedure, which he was in violation of the moment the court hearing started, making judicial rules of administration violated. He should have been recused that very moment for making biased decisions. I am prostituting our daughter is also allegedly something said. Elizabeth out for money. Well, considering that we've had rape threats come against her, which she was there to witness, and my daughter, we don't know what's possible anymore. Now there are videos showing him being erratic in front of our son and his other younger daughter in front of officers using foul language. They're accusing Piper of using foul language. I'm just now seeing that for the first time. Folks, you watch the videos yourself. Feel free to leave some comments below in that video where you see my daughter in the videos and show us where the foul language is being used. I mean, look at the size of this paragraph. I have hours of documented evidence. This is one piece of paper and it's only half of the page. You can't go and base your entire court theory off of these allegations. Let me finish reading, and then by all means, go ahead. There, Peter's younger daughter brings out a toy gun, or excuse me, my daughter using foul language, telling law enforcement to die. And no, the only thing that was said by my daughter is, "We hate you, Bonnie."
And that's all she said in the video. So if that's foul language, she has every
She
has
says
every opinion or every right
because of her
because that's what she's experienced
exactly.
with you taking her biological brother and sister away from her.
Yep.
She is the tie that what binds all four of these kids together.
Peter's younger daughter brings out a toy gun to shoot officers. I don't know what little kid doesn't like to play with guns. I used to play with toy guns.
Nerf gun.
Exactly. And I used to play with toy guns as a child. And she was just walking out, pew, pew, pew. It's not like she was saying, "Die, cop," or anything like that, like I was. Because you crooked cops out there that do absolutely nothing, like one of the deputies that I was talking to while I was being booked illegally in the Polk County Jail, where I I didn't look directly at you, but I'm looking ahead saying to you, it's got to suck being a good cop working for a dirty division. Because when you are a good officer and you do absolutely nothing about the corruption transpiring around you, that makes you just as crooked as they are. They have lived in a motel, or excuse me, after the toy gun, they were evicted from their home in October of 2021. We were evicted, and that's the one that Grady Judge signed off on illegally. Thank you for bringing that up and confirming that it's a reality. 17 or 19 open code violations, no fire extinguisher, fire hazards in the home.
Being cut, feces going underneath the house.
Yeah, old lead pipes that are almost 100 years old. Yeah, cast iron. You're right. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. They have lived in a motel since then until June of this year, at which time they were evicted from there. Mrs. Copeland, would you like to elaborate on that eviction and what it really represented?
First of all, just so y'all know, don't go to Stayable Inn and Suites.
Fuck Stayable Inn and Suites and everything that they represent.
It's roach infested. It's rat infested. They don't treat their employees or their tenants correctly.
Nope.
But
they have a pool that's been condemned and closed for months on end, but they advertise it in their ads like it's a reality that people can go swim in it.
Our daughter was at the playground, which we had visual of her.
And fuck you scumbags that were involved in this. Eat a dick.
5 boys attacked my daughter, held her down to the ground, pulled her hair, pinched her, made sexual references, and they kicked us out. So we started packing everything up because we planned on leaving anyway because our intention was to get an RV because, like I said, rent's getting too expensive. But they turned around and put it in the paperwork that, number one, we paid weekly.
And we've got
daily. It was daily. They had it broken.
Yeah, they had it broken down into daily payments. I paid monthly. I get a Social Security disability insurance check every month, not SSDI that I paid into for nearly 20 years. So I'm entitled to that insurance.
But that's why we ended up leaving.
For non-payment.
Yeah, that's what they said we were leaving for, was non-payment. Not for the simple fact that your establishment was not sticking up for kids and other kids were getting locked in dumpster areas and getting bullied around there too.
Yeah, the only part that she missed on there that I wanted to touch on was all of the families. I made sure to stay out in front of my room of that hotel because there were 2 security cameras pointing both directions, covering all angles, because there were multiple families who came out and rained down on us trying to fight me. And I don't give a fuck. I'll take on 10 of y'all because I promise you I'm going to hurt 3 or 4 of you before you finally take me out. That's why you always come in groups. Y'all don't ever come and face me one-on-one because you're chumps. But the families, an elderly man, so that I can go ahead.
They wanted him to get arrested for elderly abuse. But first of all, you're supposed to be an adult yourself. So why aren't you taking care of your own problems instead of getting your elderly father to come out and do your bidding for you?
And openly admitting that your children were in the wrong for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 boys, 2 of which were entirely innocent in the situation because they were just following along with the other boys, didn't know exactly what they were doing. But it doesn't change the fact that you all were letting your children beat up on a little girl who defended herself and threw rocks and pegged one of them in the head, which or somewhere in the body. It could have been the head, could have been the chest. I don't remember. Yeah. And she was disgraced. Our family was disgraced. I am proud of my daughter for standing up for herself that day. And if she did it again, she ain't going to get in trouble. Not 1 ounce for standing up to corruption and tyranny in Imperial Punk County.
And on top of it, they turned it racial. We
Yep.
didn't. And we had witnesses there that were fathers and said they would have done the same
Yep.
thing. And then they started turning on them because they were on our side.
Yep.
Because no racial slurs or anything came out of our mouths until it came out of theirs.
Do not fire until fired upon. I've mentioned that in these previous videos.
We have people of different shades of color and backgrounds as our friends, and I'm proud of that. My children are raised not to see color, but to see human beings.
Now the final part of the synopsis. Now they are living in a motorhome. In the video he posted of one interaction with law enforcement, you can see the conditions they live in. They have boxes stacked almost to the ceiling in the motel room, which we stated clearly we're moving, and usually people pack boxes when they're moving. But whatever, which I am sure now are in the motorhome. No, our motorhome is quite nice, has a $92,000 MSRP, even though it's an older model. It was decently kept, but we were lied to by I4RV, which y'all can go fuck yourselves too with the laundry list of problems we left a review about. But Peter has isolated my son from being out in public, including keeping him out of public school. I am unaware what online schooling he is in. Now, to touch on the whole defense that they were using, that I'm interfering with custody of my son. No, you all saw in the videos where my son sat down in the car, told officers himself he does not want to go back to his mother in October of 2020, the day I was there to pick up both of my children. And my daughter was not allowed to come outside and tell me that she doesn't want to see me anymore. But my son, on open record, admits that he doesn't want to have anything to do with his mother. And that ain't the first time. He did it almost 3 years later in both of the videos that anybody has watched that are out in our war against corrupt punk ass chump advocacy non-profit series, because we're not trying to make money. We're just trying to end the tyranny and suffering for all the families here in Polk County, which the Declare family. I am going to be telling their story very shortly from the anonymity perspective and my experience of it, because I was out there interviewing witnesses. I was at the traffic crash scene where the Lakeland prostitute department had the audacity to say, where's that Ford emblem? Where's that Ford emblem? It's around. We'll get it for the next video. We've got the Ford emblem of the Explorer that mowed down the family out there in front of the stayable suites. And you scumbags tried to say that 100-foot skid mark, which we had the photograph of that until the Polk County Sheriff confiscated my phone, which I'm sure that all of those videos and all that information will be deleted because they don't want to incriminate themselves. But when you tamper with evidence, you've automatically incriminated yourself. But 100-foot skid mark, as a crime scene investigator, I can speak from experience and I can authenticate my testimony, because this is a formula that investigators across America, any one of y'all, if y'all see this, please drop a comment about what I'm about to say. A vehicle traveling at however many miles per hour it is, they say 30 miles per hour in this atrocity of an investigation, that it was only traveling 30 miles per hour, but slid 100 feet. That's a third of a football field, folks. That's 33.33333 yards, almost 34. And it slid that far, traveling 30 miles per hour. That's impossible. Vehicles of today can stop in under a second at 30 miles per hour. And you take the miles per hour and multiply it times 1.5, 1.5. So at 30 miles per hour times 1.5, that's how many feet per second the vehicle is traveling, which is 45 feet per second. You slam on the brakes right then and there, you're still not going to slide 100 feet because you're traveling at 45 feet per second. And you can stop in under a second with a vehicle with anti-lock brakes. I'm not telling anybody to go out there and try this at home, but I know myself have done it in under a second with a vehicle with anti-lock brakes. And that Ford Explorer had anti-lock brakes equipped on it. So there's botched investigation idiocy number 2.
If you were only going 30 miles an hour, you wouldn't have broke the emblem off the front of your vehicle.
And you still wouldn't have slid 100 feet, and the vehicle with anti-lock brakes should have come to a pulsing stop, as anti-lock brakes do. This vehicle slid 100 feet. How do you do that in a vehicle with anti-lock brakes?
And there was several witnesses that seen the accident happen.
And only one in...
Nobody came and questioned
Yep, not
anybody.
one officer came over and talked to anybody there. But we'll get into that part of it later, because that's a whole nother series that I'm going to talk about. Because when I show the picture, it's absolutely horrifying.
Well, I want to say one of the reasons, and it was confirmed by our son, and I've been saying, she was bribed with a horse. I don't know any teenager on the face of this earth, if you bribe them with any type of bling bling money, they're not going to do what you want them to do.
Yeah, and
that's any teenager over anywhere, any country, any state, whatever.
And thank you for bringing this back up, because I did get kind of sidetracked in that explanation of, it's the only time I've done that in this video so far, where we got off topic, where we were talking about what you were just saying with the go ahead.
The horse. And
yeah, the horses and the bribery, and how I was there to pick up my children that day, yet they're saying I'm the one that's interfering with custody. No, my daughter was a minor at that time. Y'all withheld her from me. You coached her and bribed her into staying over there, as my son has testified and wants to test to us and wants to testify in court. And I think he even brought that up in Part 4 of cognizable definition when he was speaking to the Department. Yeah, he did. When he was speaking to the Department of Children and Family Services investigators. So again, they're entrapping me into this domestic violence injunction and letting their prejudices outweigh the probative value, because everything that they're doing is after the fact that the crimes have been committed against my kids, our kids.
And Ario is at an age, which just like my 17-year-old, who doesn't really want to have anything to do with her father either. They are at an age where we have left it up to them. We have never once stated to them, don't call your other parent. Don't go see your other parent. But I guarantee you, and I promise you, none of them have ever come up to us and say, I want to go visit mom. I want to go visit dad. But she never, ever picked up that phone once. One time that she did talk to him on the phone was in the very beginning, and Elizabeth initiated that phone call. So I'm not understanding how you are interfering with custody, but she can halt communication. She cannot provide where she lives.
Yep.
Because I know in my divorce,
that's required.
It's required.
And she's playing where I live. Right. And she's playing up the victim of how she's so afraid of me, and she's looking out her window. If I don't know what idiot would be looking out their window if the other person doesn't know where you live.
Yeah, you have
but
to give
whatever.
Information.
You know, exactly. You have to obtain that information and give it.
I will say, for the record, I've been with this man for 13 years. We don't have the perfect relationship. Sometimes we say things to each other out of anger, but we have never thrown anything at each other. We have never laid a hand on each other. We don't do that. That's not what we're about. But yet her boyfriends can hit the kids upside the head and all this kind of stuff. My question to y'all is when she's done taking away everything she can possibly take and there's nothing else left, what is she going to do then? Because she's still not going to be happy with the outcome. And when her children finally see which one has and is being forced, which, for the record, little boy that was bullying him, Elizabeth had her birthday the beginning of July, and he told me on a phone call that his mother made him go to that boy's house, and he argued with his mother and spent 6 hours in the car. I can't tell you, but I know from a mom's point of view, from her, that's a ha-ha moment. Look what I can do, and I can get away with
Fuck you, because Kevin Bradley fucking Neff. You are a goddamn bitch. I challenge your punk ass to a charity boxing match, because I promise you, pussy, I will drag you all across that motherfucking ring. Taking my goddamn kid back around the piece of shit who permanently injured him to the point he may never have children? And fuck you.
Not only that.
Die fucking slowly. If you die tomorrow, I will laugh all the motherfucking way to your grave.
But not only that.
Hey, look, Piper, hold on. We're almost done.
And for the record,
she's up in the living room, quite far away from where this transpired in the video back in our bedroom. This is a 42-foot motorhome, so they can't hear what's being said back here.
and I just totally lost my train of thought.
You were talking about Kevin Neff and...
Oh, well, for the record, I would never, ever put my children in this. They are not evil pawns in a game of revenge or whatever it is. But I can honestly tell you, with my divorce, my ex-husband's first wife did not like me for the longest time. But you know what? She trusted me with her daughter. I made sure her daughter was bathed and fed, schoolwork was done, all that. Bonnie does not have to like me, but I don't hit her children in the head. I don't do anything to abuse them. And when they are here, I treat them the same way I treat my child. If you want to have a smart mouth, you don't want to do your chores, well, you're going to have extra chores. You're going to get things taken away from you. You're going to spend time in your room. We never, ever once. And what I don't understand is, with you also not being happy and constantly coming after him, do you want him back? Is your life that miserable that you got to screw over his whole family? Because I've been with him for 13 years. How many people has your ex-wife been in the 13 years you and I have been together?
Countless. And
at least 10?
And the children have seen her bring different men home.
Elizabeth told us specifically mom had a live-in boyfriend, but she brought someone else home from work and she caught her kissing him outside the window. What kind of influence is that on your child? And if she wants to talk, Piper,
please go back up to the living room. Anna, come get her, please.
If she wants to talk about anybody grooming anything for her or to her, I will tell you, she's grooming her to be just like her. She says in there that Ario told her that we said that she was being groomed to be a prostitute. First of all, we would have never said that. Second of all, we would have never said it in front of our son, because that's not the type of parents that we are.
No, and that's
so
not.
That doesn't tell you they're not listening in our phone our phone calls, because him and I were on a phone call
when that was said.
When that took place.
Yeah, that wasn't said in any of the videos. I'd like to see y'all go ahead and comment below where the timestamp is where that is actually said. But let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I don't have a criminal record. I've never done anything to this woman except for help take care of her children. My license had gotten suspended unknowingly because I wasn't common knowledge to me, but I did everything I was supposed to. What was her name? Butterfield?
Stacy M. Butterfield. She's the clerk comptroller for Polk County.
I know. That's why I'm bringing her up, because I ended up going to court and they ended up dismissing it, because even after I had my license reinstated and everything, should have made the ticket null and void.
Yeah, they're messing.
No, they sent me another thing that said they could suspend my license for up to 5 years if I didn't pay this citation.
6 months after paying everything.
Well, so in January, we had the Zoom court hearing. They got it all out. Thought it was all done and over with. When you buy an RV, no matter
Piper,
what lot...
Hey, you're being disrespectful now. Come on. I hear you beating and banging on stuff. Please. We've had a really great day today. Don't end it this way. I love you, Piper, but you're not getting your way right now, so you're acting out, kind of like Imperial Polk County does.
And for the record, she just wants to be in here saying her piece.
Exactly.
And we told her she needed to wait on that.
She's banging on the shower door now. You hear? Come on.
That was me. I was trying to close the door. Anyway,
all right. Thank you for explaining.
No matter what lot you buy an RV from, they tell you it is required that you have to have insurance on that RV, motorhome, whatever you're buying, before you drive it off the lot. That's how I found out on June 14th, 2023, that my driver's license was still suspended.
months after paying everything off.
DMV said I had met all requirements. That's what the lady had on her computer screen.
Yep.
I also called the clerk of courts and talked to a very nice woman named Debbie. She got it all figured out for me, but they reinstated my license on June 14th, 2023, instead of reinstating it whenever they should. So if you think for 1 second that you're free and clear just because you're with somebody and you don't have a background, you're guilty by association. And she's about ready to find out how guilty by association I am, because somebody is going to actually hear what I have to say and not keep dismissing me like this Judge Smith did on Tuesday.
And multiple attorneys like Attorney Beach Brooks III from Brooks Law Group, and
who was the one from Orlando that quoted us one price?
Oh, Rubens. Oh yeah, that was the attorney who said that you can't. It's not you're not violating no contact when somebody initiates contact with you, and that was what brought us into that whole interview anyway. But halfway through that interview with him, he told us it'd be $8,000 to represent us. Might even be less. But then we're not even 10 minutes down the road, calls us back, says he wants to review the case. You have not had time to review anything in 15 minutes.
Him and his colleagues spoke, and they want
$15,000
up front.
Yep, and it's
but
because
we also found out he also used to work as an attorney in Polk County.
And it's because
so fuck you too.
And it's because charges had been enhanced. Yeah, that was Moses and Ruth out of Orlando. That was the firm. That wasn't the attorneys that were talking, but that was the firm.
We have attorneys wanting to take our case, and then all of a sudden somebody in this county gets to them,
and they don't want it no more.
We don't even get a phone call. We get a letter in the mail a month later saying, unfortunately, we had to withdraw.
Yep, that's the tow truck. We had somebody while I was driving the tow truck, and I'm going to end with this because I have a claim against my name with State Farm Insurance because I had been an as-needed tow truck driver for Left Lane Auto and Tire. Good group of guys, great family, beautiful business. They help out a lot of people, and I love serving the community and helping them out, getting them off the side of the road in very bad situations. I remember saving one family who had been sitting out in the cold for hours and no tow truck driver would come to them. I get there, there's a little baby on scene, freezing to death. Yeah, and it is 30 some odd degrees outside. They're shivering cold. No tow truck driver will come to help them. So I scrape myself up from Polk County and I drive all the way out to, oh man, where was it? It was up past,
you were gone for hours.
Oh gosh, man, and I can't even remember the city now. It's up north. There's a few lakes up there. Anyway, you got to travel up I-75 north for almost 2.5 hours to get there. But I go out there and I help them. I get them off the side of the road. But now that's been taken away from me because of this false domestic violence injunction. Like my music is being taken away from me because I'm focusing on trying to save my family. My music means nothing without my family beside me. Like, go ahead and add your little piece, even though I'm trying to get this wrapped up.
She's the one doing all of this. This is nothing about us. She is very unhappy in her life, especially to be hurting your children like this. I would never. Again,
refer to the evidence in the video.
I would never. And I'm going to state, even through my divorce, my ex-husband constantly kept putting my 17-year-old in the middle. I would not do that. She doesn't understand things at that time and everything else. But what I don't understand is you have all this narcissistic behavior. And I know, like I said, from experience, I married a narcissist, and thank God I'm away from him. But what in her life makes her so happy that unhappy that she has to destroy her children? Because no matter how much you hate this man, you should have never involved your children. You are taking their free will away from them when this is a decision they should be making on their own.
And
he
depriving.
He didn't rape them. He didn't beat them. He didn't do any of that stuff. And this Lieutenant Dina Russell, who told me it was okay for a non-paramour parent to hit a child upside the head with an object as form of corporal punishment,
which we've touched on.
Fucking go to hell.
Exactly, which we've touched on. Didn't touch on. We explained it through and through in Cognizable Definition Part 4. But the State Farm accident, I've got that claim on my name for driving the tow truck this night. I don't remember the exact date. It was June, July. Don't really care. Breach Brooks III of the Brooks Law Group was supposed to represent us. Came up with some bogus story about how if it's potentially 50-50 either way, then we don't really pursue cases like this. No, this woman was 100% liable for the accident. I'm driving a large... Yeah, her attorney quit on her. And the one insurance company faulted her for the accident. Her attorney quit on her. That's two people showing that you're clearly at fault. A lawyer,
and now she's suing him by herself.
Well, she's I guess attempted to sue me. And anyway, the tow truck that we're driving, or that I was driving for the company, I was in the middle lane, the beacons are on, and I'm following the laws of the road. I'm heading out to a call. I was on the phone, but Bluetooth hands-free phone call, so I can keep my eyes on the road and focused on what I'm doing, talking about the call that I'm on my way to, letting them know, approximately where I'm at, what's going on, how long it's going to be before I get there. And I start seeing sparks shoot up the side of my tow truck. You travel in the middle lane because it's the lane with the least amount of resistance. And it gives something that large a chance to possibly escape without doing damage or killing somebody else. So when I see the sparks shooting up the front right side of the tow truck, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a car. What the, you know what I mean? A few Vulgars popped out, and I swerved the truck to the left to get over to the left lane. The car peels off, spins off to the side of the shoulder. I pull off and block the road, and I immediately contact law enforcement and get them out there to investigate the scene of this crash. Now, let me explain something, Beach Brooks III, about the no zone and how that protects drivers like myself from this woman's indignities of trying to pass a large commercial vehicle in the right lane. You can't pass a large commercial vehicle in the right lane. You pass them in the left lane because you're passing them in the no zone, which is the largest blind spot on the commercial vehicle. Therefore, that makes her not 50%, 100% liable for that accident. She didn't die. She wasn't seriously hurt. I made sure to ask her all those questions. Matter of fact, I'm the one that peeled her door open for her so that she could get out of the car and breathe and know that there was somebody there that cared, because nobody else stopped until after the fact. One of the witnesses drove off immediately. Oh, is the lady okay? I don't know. I'm going over to check now. Okay, but you're okay. Takes off. A couple other people stop and try and talk about the situation, but nobody really showed up to help anything beyond that other than what I did to stop for this woman. But now State Farm is holding that over my head. The petitioner brings that up in these court hearings like that has some kind of relevance to the whole thing, but it shows the conspiracy taking place, the conspiracy reality, not conspiracy theory. We're almost done, Piper, taking place here in Imperial Polk County. So that's how I'm going to end this with y'all have a great night. And Polk County, eat a bowl full of shit.
I'm going to end it with everybody has to speak to a higher power at one point or another in their life. What side will you be on?
Yeah, y'all have already sold your souls to the devil. And I will, when I die, to get my vengeance and revenge upon my family. If I don't get it in this existence in eternity, then that's what I have to do to get my, not revenge, but vengeance against you. Because what I'm after here in this life is justice.
And this isn't about profit and what we could, because I'm a millionaire if I'm living out of a cardboard box.
Piper,
as long as I have my family
we
with
got to
me.
end this. She's absolutely being a snot now. Folks, y'all have a great night. Y'all enjoy yourselves. And like I said, Imperial Polk County, I'm going to end it like this. Fuck you.
yourself.
Have a great night. Eat a bowl full of shit, bitch.